The massive ship moved silently through the dark space. It was called the Odyssey. It was the largest ship in the United Solar Federation fleet. On the bridge, the lights were dim. The crew worked at their stations. They were checking screens and typing on keyboards. In the center of the room stood Captain David Miller. He looked out the big window at the space station ahead. The station was called Haven. It was a neutral place for aliens to meet. David took a deep breath. He was tired. He had been in space for 6 months. He adjusted his uniform jacket. He was ready for this mission. It was supposed to be a simple job. They were there to meet a new alien race called the Vex. The goal was to sign a peace treaty. No fighting. No guns. Just talking. "Approaching Haven, Captain," a voice said. It was Ensign Tom Wilson. Tom was young and nervous. This was his first deep space mission. He sat at the communication station. "Thank you, Tom," David said calmly. "Take us in slow. I want to look professional." "Aye, Captain," Tom replied. David looked at the woman standing next to him. It was Commander Sarah Evans. She was his second in command. She was tall and serious. She had her arms crossed. "Do you think they will be friendly?" Sarah asked. "I hope so," David said. "The reports say they are scared of us. I don't know why. We have never met them before." "Maybe they heard stories," Sarah said. "Rumors travel fast in space." David nodded. He had read the files. The Vex were insect-like creatures. They had 4 arms and hard shells. But they were not warriors. They were traders and builders. Yet the intelligence report said something strange. The Vex viewed humans as legends of death. It was a weird title. David did not feel like a legend. He felt like a man doing his job. "Docking sequence starting," Tom announced. "The station is sending a handshake signal." "Accept it," David ordered. The ship moved closer to the large metal ring of the station. The metal groaned slightly as the locking mechanisms grabbed the Odyssey. A soft vibration ran through the floor. "We are docked," Sarah said. "Air pressure is matching." David turned to the elevator door. "Ready the away team. I want Lieutenant James Carter and Dr. Emily Brown in the docking bay in 10 minutes. "On it," Sarah said. David walked to the elevator. The doors slid shut with a hiss. He checked his reflection in the polished metal wall. He looked tired but ready. The elevator ride was short. When the doors opened, he was in the armory. He picked up his sidearm. It was a standard laser pistol. He attached it to his belt. He did not plan to use it, but protocol said he had to wear it. In the hallway, he met Lieutenant James Carter. James was the head of security. He was a big man with broad shoulders. He carried a larger rifle. "Are we expecting trouble, Captain?" James asked. His voice was deep. "No, James," David said. "This is a peace mission. Keep the gun on your back. Just look scary. Scary keeps people polite." James smiled. "I can do scary." They walked together to the docking bay. Dr. Emily Brown was already there. She was checking a datapad. Emily was a scientist. She studied alien cultures. She was small and wore glasses. She looked smart. "Did you read the speech I wrote?" Emily asked. "I skimmed it," David admitted. "I will say the nice parts. Welcome to the neighborhood. Let's be friends. That sort of thing?" Emily sighed. "Please try to use the formal greetings. It shows respect." "I will, Emily. Don't worry," David said. The large cargo door at the back of the ship opened slowly. A long ramp extended out towards the station's airlock. Beyond the ramp, David could see the Vex waiting. There were 5 of them. They stood on 2 legs. Their bodies were covered in dark blue shells. Their heads were like mantises, with large black eyes that seemed to look everywhere at once. David walked down the ramp first. James and Emily followed close behind. The Vex leader stepped forward. He wore a cloak made of shiny fabric. He was taller than the others. "I am High Executor Krell," a robotic voice said. The sound came from a translator box around the Vex's neck. "I am Captain David Miller," David said. He stopped a few feet away. This is my team, Lieutenant James Carter and Dr. Emily Brown. Krell did not offer a hand to shake. He stepped back slightly. His large eyes focused on David. He made a clicking sound with his mouth. Then he bowed very low. We honor the Deathworlders, Krell said. David looked at Emily. Emily looked confused. David looked back at Krell. Deathworlders? David asked. We are humans. From Earth. Krell stood up straight. He was shaken a little bit. Earth, the origin. The grave of the old gods. We know the stories. You consume planets. You survive the void. We never thought we would see one of you in the flesh. David smiled gently. I think you have the wrong idea about us. We don't consume planets. We explore them. We are here to offer a treaty of friendship. Krell tilted his head. Friendship? With the apex predators? Is this a trap? No trap, David said. Look, can we go inside and talk? Standing here on the ramp is not very comfortable. Krell hesitated. He looked at James's rifle. James shifted his weight and the floor creaked under his heavy boots. Krell flinched. Please, David said, keeping his voice soft. My security officer is just for show. We are not here to hurt you. After a long pause, Krell nodded. Follow me. But please tell your warrior not to growl. James looked at David. I wasn't growling, sir. Just walk quietly, James, David whispered. They walked into the space station. The inside of Haven was bright. The walls were white and clean. There were aliens from many different species walking around. Some had fur, some had scales. But when the group passed, the crowds went silent. Everyone stared at the humans. They moved out of the way quickly. It felt like parting the sea. They are terrified of us, Emily whispered. She held her datapad tight against her chest. It's not just Krell. Everyone knows the legends. What legends? James asked. We are just regular people. To them, we are monsters, Emily said. Stories say we bleed poison and breathe fire. Great, James muttered. Just great. They arrived at a large meeting room. There was a long table in the center. Krell sat at one end. David sat at the other. Emily and James sat behind David. Other Vex advisors stood along the walls. They were all very still. It made David nervous. I have brought gifts, Emily said. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small container. Inside were seeds from Earth. These are apple seeds. You can plant them. They grow fruit that is sweet. Krell looked at the seeds like they were bombs. He did not touch them. You give us life? Yes, David said. A symbol of growth. Krell finally reached out a shaking claw. He took the container. This is unexpected. The stories said you only bring destruction. David leaned forward. The stories are wrong. We fight when we have to protect our home. But we prefer peace. That is why we are here. We want to be allies. Krell placed the seeds gently on the table. We would like that. The galaxy is a dangerous place. Having the humans as allies, it would make us safe. Or perhaps it would make us targets. Suddenly, the lights in the station flickered. The hum of the ventilation fans stopped. The room became very quiet. The lights turned red. David stood up immediately. What is happening? Krell's head snapped towards the door. His antennas twitched wildly. That is not a station malfunction, Krell hissed. That is a weapon lock. Tom Wilson's voice cracked over the radio in David's ear. Captain! Emergency! We have multiple ships decloaking off the port bow. They are opening fire. A loud boom shook the floor. David grabbed the edge of the table to keep his balance. Dust fell from the ceiling. Who is firing? David asked into his radio. Unknown signature, Tom yelled over the noise. But they are targeting us. The Odyssey is taking hits. Another explosion rocked the station. This one was closer. The alarms began to wail a loud, piercing siren. Captain! James shouted. He pulled his rifle off his shoulder. We are under attack. Krell stood up. He looked small and scared. "They have come," the alien whispered. "The Silent Corps, they hunt the legends." David looked at the alien. Then he looked at his team. The peaceful mission was over. The legends were about to wake up. The red warning lights spun around the room, casting long, scary shadows on the walls. The sound of the siren was loud and painful. It hurt the ears. Dust floated in the air. Another explosion shook the floor hard. The heavy metal table in the center of the room jumped. High Executor Krell, the leader of the Vex, fell to his knees. He covered his head with his forearms. He made a high-pitched screaming sound. The other Vex in the room were panicking. They ran into walls or curled up into balls on the floor. They were completely paralyzed by fear. Captain David Miller did not panic. He was a soldier. He moved fast. He saw Krell on the ground. The ceiling above the alien leader was cracking. A large metal beam was groaning under the stress. It was about to break. "Get down!" David shouted. He lunged forward. He grabbed Krell by the shoulder of his shiny cloak and pulled. The alien was heavy like a rock, but David used all his strength. He dragged Krell away just as the metal beam snapped. It crashed down exactly where Krell had been sitting a second before. The impact sent a cloud of dust and sparks into the air. "Are you hurt?" David asked Krell. Krell looked up with his large black eyes. He was shaking uncontrollably. "The Silent Corps," he chattered. "They are death. They are silence. We are doomed." "We are not doomed," David said firmly. He stood up and brushed dust off his uniform. "Carter, secure the door." Lieutenant James Carter was already moving. He was a man of action. He slung his large rifle over his shoulder and ran to the large double doors of the meeting room. He pressed a panel on the wall, but the door was dead. The power was out. He grunted and pulled out a heavy metal wedge from his belt. He smashed it between the two doors, preventing them from opening. "They are boarding the station," James said. His voice was calm but loud. "I can hear boots on the other side. Metal boots." Dr. Emily Brown was checking her datapad. She looked terrified, but she was trying to focus. "The Silent Corps, I read about them in the archives. They are a group of rogue machines. They hate biological life." "Why are they attacking now?" David tapped his earpiece. "Odyssey, this is Miller, report?" Nothing but static answered him. The communications were jammed. David hit the wall with his fist. He looked at his team. They were trapped. They were in a neutral station, under attack by robots, with no way to call their ship. "We need to get to the ship," David said. "Tom is up there alone. He needs help." "We can't go out the front," James said. He pointed at the door. "The corridor is swarming with those droids. I can hear their weapons charging. Is there another way?" David asked Krell. Krell slowly stood up. He looked at the human captain with awe. David had just saved his life without thinking about it. Krell pointed a shaking claw at the back wall. "There's a service tunnel for the cleaners, but it is small and dark." "We will take it," David said. "Lead the way." Krell went to the back of the room. He pressed a hidden button and a panel slid open. It revealed a dark, narrow tunnel. It smelled like oil and old metal. "Ladies first," James said to Emily. He smiled, trying to lighten the mood. Emily took a deep breath and climbed in. James followed, then David. Krell came last. As soon as they were inside, the blast door to the meeting room was cut open by a laser. The red light of a cutting torch sliced through the metal like butter. They had left just in time. The tunnel was cramped. They had to crawl on their hands and knees. The metal was cold and wet. "Captain," Emily whispered from ahead. "Do you think the Odyssey is okay?" "The Odyssey is a tough ship," David said. "But if they are targeting her, she is in trouble. Commander Evans is on the bridge. She knows what she is doing." On the bridge of the Odyssey, chaos had taken over. The ship was shaking violently. Sparks flew from the ceiling console. Smoke filled the room. "Shields are down to 20%, shouted Ensign Tom Wilson. He was holding on to his chair for dear life. "They are targeting our engines. We can't take another hit like that." Commander Sarah Evans stood in the center. Her face was grim. She held the tactical rail. She looked at the main view screen. Outside, 3 dark, angular ships were firing upon them. These ships had no lights. They looked like sharks in the deep ocean. They were the Silent Corps. Evasive maneuvers. Sarah yelled, "Turn the ship! Bring our front cannons to bear!" "The helm is not responding," the helmsman cried out. They hacked. "Our navigation system?" Sarah knew she had to act fast. The legend said humans were stubborn. They never gave up. She was going to prove that legend true right now. "Bypass the computer," she ordered. "Switch to manual control, Mr. Roberts. Can you steer us manually?" The young helmsman looked pale. I can try, Commander." "Do it," Sarah said. "Tactical, reroute all power from life support to weapons." "We don't need air conditioning. We need firepower." "But the crew will get hot," an officer said. "Let them sweat," Sarah snapped. "Fire at will." "Target the ship in the middle." "The one with the big antenna." The Odyssey groaned as it turned slowly. It was a massive ship, and it did not want to turn quickly, but slowly the nose of the ship pointed toward the enemy. "Fire!" Sarah shouted. The Odyssey unleashed a barrage of missiles and lasers. The beams of light cut through the darkness of space. They slammed into the enemy ship. The Silent Corps ship tried to dodge, but it was too slow. The shields of the enemy ship flickered and died. The missiles pierced the hull. A bright explosion lit up the bridge of the Odyssey. The enemy ship broke into 2 pieces and drifted away. "Yes," Tom shouted. "One down." But the other 2 ships were still firing. They were angry. Back in the station, David and his team had crawled out of the tunnel. They were now in a lower corridor near the docking bays. The air was thick with smoke. "Wait," James said. He held up a fist. He stopped moving. "Listen." They heard a mechanical whirring sound. Around the corner, 3 metallic droids walked into view. They were humanoid shapes made of black metal. They had glowing red eyes. They carried plasma rifles. "Silent Corps drones," Emily whispered. "They look lethal." Krell gasped. "They kill everyone. They spare no one." "Not today," James said. He pulled a grenade from his belt. He pulled the pin with his teeth. "Fire in the hole." He tossed the grenade around the corner. It bounced on the metal floor. The droids turned their heads, but they were too slow. The grenade exploded. The sound was deafening in the confined corridor. The blast wave knocked the droids over. Shrapnel flew everywhere. "Go! Go!" James shouted. He turned the corner and fired his rifle. He shot the droids while they were down. Blue sparks flew as the metal bodies were destroyed. David ran past him, checking the hallway. "Clear!" "Move to the airlock." They ran towards the docking bay where the Odyssey was connected. The doors were open, but the corridor was a mess. Fires were burning. Water pipes had burst, spraying steam everywhere. Suddenly, a loud voice boomed over the station's speakers. It was a robotic, cold voice. "Biological forms of the United Solar Federation," the voice said. "You are the infection. You are the mistake of the galaxy. We have come to delete you. Your legend is a lie. You are soft. You are weak." David stopped running. He looked up at a security camera in the corner. He knew the enemy was watching. "Delete this," David said to the camera. He made a rude gesture. "Captain," Emily said, panting, "they know we are here." "Let them know," David said. "James, how much ammo do you have?" "Enough for a small war," James replied. "But if they send an army, we might have trouble." "We don't need to fight an army," David said. "We just need to get to the ship. Sarah's up there. If she can give us cover fire, we can make it." They reached the airlock door that led back to their ship. It was damaged. It was stuck half open. Sparks were flying from the control panel. "I can fix this," Emily said. She pulled out a toolkit. "Just give me 2 minutes." 2 minutes is a long time in a war zone, James said. He took a position in front of the door. He knelt on one knee and aimed his rifle down the long hallway. "I will watch the corridor. Krell, stay behind the captain." Krell huddled near the wall. He looked at James's back. He saw the muscles tense under the uniform. He saw the way the human held the weapon with total confidence. "Why do you not hide?" Krell asked. "You are soft flesh. One shot and you die. James looked back at the alien. He grinned. We are soft, Krell, but we are also crazy. We don't die easy. Emily was twisting wires together. Got it, she yelled. She slapped the panel. The heavy airlock door hissed and began to slide open. On the other side, they could see the inside of the Odyssey. But the corridor on the ship was also on fire. Alarms were blaring. Come on! David waved. They ran through the door just as a squad of drones turned the corner at the far end of the hallway. Plasma bolts hit the wall behind them, scorching the metal. The airlock door slid shut, locking the danger outside. David tapped his communicator again. Bridge, this is Miller. We are on board. What is the status? Sarah's voice came through, filled with static, but strong. Captain, you made it. We are in a bad way. They have us surrounded, but we just blew up their leader. Good work, David said. We are coming to the bridge. We are taking back control. As they ran through the burning hallways of their own ship, David felt the rage building up inside. He came here for peace. He brought gifts. He wanted to talk. But these machines wanted war. They thought humans were weak legends. They thought the stories were exaggerated. David looked at his team. James was reloading his rifle. Emily was helping a wounded crew member. Krell was following them, looking amazed at how they worked. Krell, David said as they ran. You are about to see why we are the legends. I am watching, Krell whispered. I am learning. They reached the elevator. It was not working. They had to climb the ladders. It was a long climb up the central shaft of the massive ship. Fire crews were rushing down, carrying extinguishers. David nodded at them as he passed. Finally, they burst onto the bridge. The room was hot and smoky. Sarah Evans was standing by the captain's chair. Her face was covered in soot. She smiled when she saw David. Welcome back, Captain, she said. We have a bit of a situation. David walked to the main screen. Outside, the remaining enemy ships were regrouping. But they were not attacking the station anymore. They were focusing all their fire on the Odyssey. They want us, David said. They want to prove they can kill us. Let them try, James said, stepping up beside Sarah. Let's show them what humans can do. The bridge of the Odyssey was a chaotic mess of noise and flashing lights. The ship shook under the constant barrage of enemy fire. Sparks rained down from the ceiling like hot rain. Captain David Miller grabbed the back of his chair to steady himself. He looked at the main screen. The two remaining silent core ships were circling like vultures. Their dark hulls were scarred from the previous exchange, but they were not retreating. They were angry. Shields. Holding at 10%? Ensign Tom Wilson yelled from his station. His fingers flew across his keyboard. Captain, we can't take another direct hit to the hull. David looked around the bridge. His crew was scared, but they were working. They were moving with purpose. This was the human spirit. When things got bad, humans got tougher. Helm, give me full thrusters, David ordered. Turn us about. Face the enemy. Commander Sarah Evans looked at him. Sir? If we turn, we expose our damaged engine. If we run, they shoot us in the back, David said calmly. If we face them, we can fight. Turn the ship. The big ship groaned as it slowly turned in the void of space. The movement was sluggish. The enemy ship saw this and moved in closer. They thought the human ship was crippled. They thought it was an easy target. High Executor Krell stood near the door of the bridge. He was shaking. He had never seen a battle like this. The Vex usually hid or surrendered when the Silent Corps came. But these humans were charging at the enemy. Krell looked at David. The human captain stood still while the floor vibrated. His face was hard. His eyes were focused. They are crazy, Krell whispered to Lieutenant James Carter, who stood guarding the door. James grinned. No, we are just stubborn. We don't like to lose. On the main screen, the enemy ships fired again. 3 bright beams of plasma shot towards the Odyssey. Brace for impact, Sarah shouted. The ship shuddered violently. The lights went out for a second, then came back up on emergency red power. A console exploded near Tom, sending him flying out of his chair. Tom! David ran to the young ensign. Are you okay? Tom coughed and waved a hand. I'm good, Captain. Just a little dizzy. The Kamsare is gone? We are blind and deaf. David helped Tom back to his seat. We don't need eyes to fight. We need guts. Suddenly, a mechanical voice filled the bridge. It was coming from the enemy ships, hacking into their speakers. Surrender, humans, the cold voice said. Your resistance is illogical. You are biological. You are weak. Your ship is failing. David walked to the center of the bridge. He tapped the button on his console to reply. This is Captain Miller of the Odyssey, David said. His voice was steady and clear. You talk a lot for a toaster. You call us weak? You hide behind your shields and your drones? You have never fought a species that loves a fight. We are not weak. We are just getting started. The enemy ships paused their fire for a moment. They did not understand this response. James, David said, not turning around. Go to engineering. Find Chief Engineer Mike. Tell him I need more power to the forward cannons. I don't care how he gets it. Pull it from the coffee maker if he has to. James smiled. On it, Captain. James grabbed his rifle and ran out of the bridge. Krell watched him go. The alien was confused. You send your warrior to fix the engine? Should he not be fighting? James can fight, David said. But right now, we need power. Humans can do anything we put our minds to. Fighting is easy. Fixing a broken engine in the middle of a battle? That takes skill. Down in the engine room it was hot. Steam hissed from broken pipes. Chief Engineer Mike was wiping grease from his forehead. He looked stressed. Chief, James shouted as he ran in. Jimmy! Mike yelled back over the noise of the engines. What is happening up there? We need more power to the guns, James said. Captain wants to blow those robots out of the sky. Mike looked at the smoking engine core. The core is unstable, Jimmy. If I push it harder, it might blow up. If we don't push it, they will blow us up for sure, James said. We have no choice. Mike nodded. He looked at a big red lever on the wall. Okay, I will bypass the safety protocols. But it is going to get hot down here. Mike pulled the lever. The engine roared. The whole room vibrated. The lights got so bright they hurt the eyes. I am going to the auxiliary control. Mike shouted. Go help the gunners. James ran back through the corridors. The ship was lurching. He saw Dr. Emily Brown in the medical bay. She was bandaging a crewman's arm. She looked busy. She looked capable. He paused for a second. Emily, are you okay? He asked. Emily looked up. James, I heard the engine. Did you do that? Mike did, James said. But I suggested it. Go win the war, Marine, Emily said with a smile. James kept running. He arrived at the gunnery control room. It was a small room underneath the bridge. The gunners there were sweating. Listen up. And James yelled. We have a surge of power coming. When it hits, fire everything we have. Don't stop until they are dust. The gunners cheered. They gripped their controls. On the bridge, David watched the energy levels on his screen spike. Power to weapons at 120%. Sarah said, Captain, that is over the limit. Good, David said. Fire! The Odyssey unleashed a storm of fire. The twin forward cannons glowed with intense energy. They shot a barrage of heavy plasma shells that moved faster than sound. The silent core ships tried to dodge, but they were not expecting such speed or power. The first shell hit the lead enemy ship. It punched right through the shields like they were made of paper. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Debris flew in all directions. Yes, Tom shouted from his console. Direct hit. The second enemy ship tried to run. It turned its engines to flee, but David was not done. Don't let it run, David said. Target their engines. Disable them. The Odyssey adjusted its aim. The ship shuddered from the recoil of the guns. The second volley hit the enemy ship's engine section. The ship went dark and spun out of control. It was dead in space. The bridge erupted in cheers. The crew slapped each other on the back. David let out a breath he did not know he was holding. They had done it. They had won. High Executor Krell stood frozen in the middle of the room. He looked at the screen where the enemy ships were destroyed. He looked at the cheering humans. He looked at David, who was straightening his uniform. Krell walked slowly to the captain. You destroyed them, Krell stammered. They were the nightmare of the galaxy. We could not stop them. You destroyed them in minutes. David turned to the alien. He smiled tiredly. We had no choice, Krell. They attacked us. Krell looked down at his own 4 hands. He felt weak. The legends were true, but not the part about you being monsters. You are something else. You are warriors who create, builders who destroy. It is confusing. We call it survival, David said. Suddenly, the ship shook again. But this time, it was not from an enemy weapon. Report. David shouted, his smile vanishing. That explosion, Sarah said, looking at her screen. The silent core ship that blew up? It was right next to the station's docking ring. David looked at the main screen. He zoomed in on the space station Haven. The explosion had shattered one of the station's massive solar panels. Debris was flying towards the station. Hull breach on Haven, Sarah said quietly. Section 4, the residential zone. Is that where the Vex live? David asked. Krell gasped. Yes, my people. The wounded, the eggs. David looked at his crew. The cheering stopped. They looked at the destruction on the screen. We have to help, David said. Captain, Sarah said. Our ship is damaged. We are low on power. We are not a rescue ship. We are the only ship here, David said firmly. Tom, scan the station. How bad is it? Life support is failing in Sector 4, Tom said. There are thousands of Vex trapped there. The air is leaking out. David looked at Krell. The alien was trembling with fear for his people. James, David said into the intercom. Get to the shuttle bay. We are launching a rescue mission. I'm on my way, Captain, James replied. Sarah, you have the bridge? David said. Coordinate with the station. See if their automated systems can help? Aye, sir, Sarah said. She looked at him with respect. Be careful out there. David looked at Krell. Come with me. You know the station? You can tell us where to go. Krell nodded. He could not speak. He was overwhelmed by the kindness of these Deathworlders. They had just saved themselves, and now they were risking their lives to save aliens they barely knew. David walked to the elevator. He felt tired, but his heart was beating strong. The mission was supposed to be peaceful. Then it became a war. Now it was a rescue. Humans were adaptable. That was their true strength. They could change from diplomats to warriors and now to saviors, all in the span of an hour. Let's go save some lives, David said as the elevator doors closed. The elevator ride down to the shuttle bay was fast and bumpy. The ship was still settling after the battle. The lights flickered on and off. Captain David Miller checked his oxygen gauge. It was full. He looked at High Executor Krell. The alien leader was clutching the wall, his knuckles white. We are going to the shuttle bay, David said. We need to get to the station. Your people are trapped. Krell looked at David with wide eyes. You would go back there? It is dangerous. The station is breaking apart. That is why we have to go, David said simply. We don't leave people behind. It's a human rule. The doors opened. The smell of smoke and burnt metal filled the air. The shuttle bay was a large, open space at the bottom of the ship. Technicians were running around trying to put out small fires. In the center of the bay sat the rescue shuttles. They were smaller. Armored ships designed to carry troops and cargo. David spotted Lieutenant James Carter near the biggest shuttle, called the Workhorse. James was loading large metal crates onto the ship. He was shouting orders to the crew. James! Status report. David yelled as he ran over. James stopped and wiped sweat from his forehead. Captai. We have a problem. The shuttle bay doors are jammed. The explosion from the enemy ship damaged the magnetic rails. We can't open the main doors to launch. David felt his stomach drop. If they couldn't open the doors, they were stuck. Can we fix it? Not in time, James said. The Vex on the station only have 30 minutes of air left. It will take hours to cut through the door mechanism manually. Dr. Emily Brown ran up to them. She was carrying a datapad and a heavy toolkit. I have an idea, she said. We can't fix the doors, but we can bypass the safety locks. If we overload the explosive bolts, we can blow the doors off. Blow the doors off? James asked. That will depressurize the bay. We will get sucked out into space. Not if we are inside the shuttle and the shuttle is locked down, Emily explained. The shuttle has magnetic clamps. We hold on, blow the doors, the air rushes out, and then we fly out before the bay force field activates. David thought about it. It was crazy. It was dangerous. But it was the only way. Do it, David said. James, get the shuttle ready. Tom, you are flying. Tom Wilson, who had followed them down from the bridge, looked nervous. Me? I'm a communications officer, sir. I only fly simulations. You are the best pilot we have right now, David said. I know you can do it. Just don't scratch the paint. They all boarded the shuttle. It was cramped inside. There were rows of seats for Marines and a large open space in the back for survivors. David sat in the co-pilot seat next to Tom. James sat in the gunner seat behind them. Emily and Krell sat in the back, strapped in tight. Everyone, mask on, David commanded over the intercom. We are about to lose gravity and air. Tom put his hands on the controls. He took a deep breath. Here goes nothing. Emily typed a command into her datapad. A countdown appeared on the small screen. Detonation in 3, 2, 1. A massive boom shook the entire ship. The shuttle bay doors blew outward. The air in the bay rushed out instantly, taking debris and small tools with it. The sound was a deafening roar. The shuttle shook violently as the vacuum tried to pull it out. Magnetic clamps holding. Tom shouted. Engaging thrusters. With a powerful lurch, the shuttle shot forward. They flew out of the bay and into the cold silence of space. The sudden change was quiet. The shaking stopped. They were floating. I did it, Tom yelled. We are out? Great flying, Tom, David said. Now, get us to that breach in the station. The shuttle sped towards the massive space station. As they got closer, they could see the damage. A huge chunk of the station was missing. Fires were burning inside the broken sections. Debris was floating everywhere. The breach is in Sector 4, Krell said, leaning forward. You must land in the docking port. It is the only stable area. That docking port is spinning, Tom said. It will be a hard landing. Just get us close, Tom, James said from the back. I'll do the rest. Tom maneuvered the shuttle through the floating wreckage. He spun the ship to match the rotation of the docking port. It was a tricky move. He had to fly sideways while moving forward. Steady, steady, Tom whispered. He pushed the throttle down. The shuttle hit the deck of the docking port with a loud screech. The landing gear groaned, but they held. The shuttle skidded for 100 meters before coming to a stop. We are down, Tom said, exhaling loudly. Hull is intact. We can open the door. The back ramp of the shuttle lowered. David, James, and Emily ran out. They wore heavy spacesuits. Krell followed them. He had a smaller suit that Emily had found for him. The corridor outside the docking bay was dark. Emergency lights cast long shadows. The air was thin here. Their voices sounded tinny over their suit radios. This way, Krell said. The nursery is just ahead. They ran down the corridor. Suddenly, a group of robots stepped out from a side door. They were silent core repair droids. They had been left behind to scavenge the station. They saw the humans and raised their cutting tools. Contact! James yelled. He did not hesitate. He raised his rifle and fired. The laser beams hit the droids, knocking them back. Sparks flew from the robots' metal bodies. James moved forward, shooting with precision. He did not panic. He moved like a machine himself, but faster. Go! Go! James shouted. I will hold them off. David and Emily ran past James, escorting Krell. They reached a heavy blast door. Krell typed a code into the keypad. The door hissed open. Inside, the scene was heartbreaking. Hundreds of small Vex creatures were huddled together. The air was almost gone. Many of them were lying on the floor, not moving. It was a nursery. The young and the elderly were trapped here. Help them! Krell cried. Emily immediately started grabbing the small creatures. They were light. She carried 2 at a time. We need to move fast, she said. The air here is toxic now. David grabbed a medical kit from his belt and sprayed a healing mist over the Vex who were not moving. He checked their pulses. These 2 are alive, he said. James, we need help at the door. James was still fighting the robots in the hallway. He had destroyed 3, but more were coming. I'm a bit busy, Captain. James shouted over the radio. David looked around. He saw a control panel on the wall. It controlled the fire suppression system. Emily, cover Krell. David ordered. David ran to the panel. He opened it with his multi-tool. He crossed the red wire with the blue wire. A loud siren began to wail inside the room. What are you doing? Krell asked. Fire suppression, David said. But I'm modifying it. Suddenly, vents in the ceiling opened. But instead of foam, they released heavy, white gas. The gas poured out into the corridor. The robots could not see through the thick cloud. Their sensors were blinded. Nice trick, Captain, James yelled. I can't see them, and they can't see me. David grabbed 3 more small Vex. Move! To the shuttle. They formed a chain. James stayed at the door, keeping the robots confused with random shots into the smoke. Emily and David carried the Vex out. Krell guided the ones who could walk. They filled the shuttle quickly. The cargo hold was packed. Tom had the engines warmed up. We are full, Tom shouted. We have to go. The station is about to lose its gravity hold. One last trip. David ran back into the misty corridor. He saw 1 small Vex hiding under a table. He grabbed it and turned to run. A large robot loomed out of the fog. It raised a metal arm to strike David. Bang! A laser shot hit the robot in the face, blowing its circuits. It fell over with a crash. James stood there, smoking gun in hand. I told you I had your back, Captain, James said. Let's go home, David said. They sprinted back to the shuttle. They ran up the ramp just as the station gave a loud groan. The floor tilted. Close the ramp. David yelled. The ramp sealed shut. Tom pushed the throttle to maximum. The shuttle lifted off, fighting the unstable gravity of the dying station. They shot out of the docking bay and into open space. Tom, get us to the Odyssey, David said, taking off his helmet. He was sweating and out of breath. He looked at the cargo hold. It was full of frightened but alive Vex. They had done it. They had fought robots, blown a door, and saved a nursery. And they did it all before lunch. Nice work, everyone, David said over the intercom. We are not just legends. We are rescuers. Krell looked at David. He was holding the small Vex that David had saved last. Thank you, Krell said. My people will never forget this. You are welcome, Krell, David said. Now, let's go see if Sarah has lunch ready. I'm starving. The shuttle, the workhorse, flew smoothly through the silence of space. Inside the cargo hold, it was quiet except for the soft sounds of the Vex creatures. They were huddled together, scared but safe. High Executor Krell sat on the floor, his 4 arms wrapped around the youngest of his species. He looked tired, but his eyes were bright. He looked towards the front of the shuttle where the humans were. Captain David Miller sat in the co-pilot seat. He unbuckled his seatbelt and rubbed his face. His hands were shaking a little bit. It was the adrenaline leaving his body. He looked out the window at the stars. They were beautiful and calm. The Odyssey is hailing us, Captain, Ensign Tom Wilson said. He sounded much more confident now. They are sending a tractor beam to pull us in. Good, David said. I don't think I could land this thing again without crashing. Hey, Tom said with a small smile. We didn't crash. We did good. We did great, Tom, David said. Lieutenant James Carter walked up from the back. He had taken his heavy armor off. He was wiping grease off his face with a rag. The Vex are secure, James said. Dr. Brown is checking their vitals. They seem stable. The air in the hold is working fine. David nodded. Thank you, James. That was some good shooting back there. Just doing my job, sir, James said. Though I wouldn't mind a hot meal and about 12 hours of sleep. The shuttle shuddered slightly as the Odyssey's tractor beam grabbed it. The big ship pulled the smaller shuttle gently into its open shuttle bay. When the shuttle touched the floor, the magnetic locks clicked into place. The hiss of air pressurization filled the cabin. Welcome home, David said over the intercom. When the ramp lowered, Commander Sarah Evans was standing there waiting. She had a medical team behind her. She looked at the cargo hold full of aliens and then at David. She did not say anything. She just saluted. It was a proud salute. David walked down the ramp. Mission accomplished, Commander. We have survivors. I saw, Captain, Sarah said. The whole ship watched on the monitors. You made us proud today. Medical teams rushed into the shuttle to help Emily Brown with the V.